Hi everybody and welcome to FABEDhacks. I'm Rosemary and today I have more Dollar Tree organization hacks. And by overwhelming request, I'll be focusing on organizing craft areas in this video. In addition, I have had a lot of feedback from multiple sources to make these videos shorter, cut back a little on the content, and not to talk so fast. So this topic will be broken into two parts and I'm going to try to keep it under 15 minutes so that it's not too much time, so let's go ahead and jump right in. So here is my once and future craft area. Now I say once and future because a little over a year ago, I had this harebrained idea to move everything into my garage, which would have been great, except for the fact that it gets really hot and really cold in there. So I ended up putting a folding table in my kitchen and lugging things back and forth, and it was just a big mess, and so it's time to move back in, and the first area I'm going to tackle is florals. All along the cubby shelves, I'm going to be making use out of these storage containers from the Dollar Tree. Now these are actually food storage containers. These are the large ones. They kind of have a 3-inch high one, maybe that's about 2-inch high, one on the other side. And these make perfect containers for kind of separating things out. So for example, here I have a floral foam and I have the square ones. So I'm going to put those into one of the 3-inch high containers. And then again, the rectangular shaped ones. And I like having them separated because then I know what I have of which sort. And then I'm going to use a third bin for miscellaneous foam. And again, just separating them out helps me know what I have in my supply. And I'll be using those food storage bins again for the moss and also the floral wire and tape. And so the floral wire and tape is going to be going in that shorter one because I don't need as much space for those. And then I'll be using the taller one again to store the floral moss. And then you can see here how they stack so nicely on the cubby. And above that, I put my stock of glass vases. Now in the cubby beside it, I'd like to put my smaller votives and smaller vases, but that's a lot of space in there. So I'm going to go ahead and just make a quick little Dollar Tree shelf by using this Dollar Tree sign and one of these Dollar Tree wire shelves. I'm going to just add some E6000 there to the top and then just place the board right on top of that. And then here you can see how that shelf just breaks the little cubby in two, enabling me to have an upper and lower level for my smaller vases. For flowers, what about these containers hung on the wall in metal brackets? To make, I took these corner shelves from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to be attaching those to the wall, and then I'm going to put inside of it a pitcher. Now this one here is from Walmart. This one fits perfectly inside, and then you can just fill your flowers with that. Now this one here is from the Dollar Tree. It doesn't fit as well in terms of it doesn't go back all the way, but it fits fine otherwise. And then this is also a water bottle from the Dollar Tree. I just cut off the top and then I just kind of went, melted down the edge with an iron so that it wasn't jagged. And then I repositioned this handle there on the side. Now this as well fits nicely in. Well, you kind of have to squish it in a little bit, but it does sit nicely in the little container. It doesn't go all the way back, but it does make for a nice holder for the flowers. To attach to the wall, you could use these removable hooks from the Dollar Tree. Now just keep in mind these only are 1 pound each. So technically they could hold up to 4 pounds, but that would have to include the pitcher and the flowers and everything else. So, and also please make sure that you read the directions on the back and follow those exactly in order to get the best hold and performance out of these Dollar Tree hooks. Now, having said that, I'm actually going to be using some of these closet-made clips. Now, you can get these at Amazon, Home Depot, and Lowe's, and I will provide a link in the description box. These will hold much more securely, plus I'm probably just at or slightly above the weight limit for the hooks. Plus, I'm also concerned about strain on the hooks from that constant yanking of the pitcher. Now these come with instructions on the back as well, and I will link to my previous video where I show how I did install them, but suffice to say they do require anchors and screws to apply to the wall. And then here are the brackets hanging on the wall. Now first here is the hook version, and then right next to it you'll see the clip and hook version. And again, this is the one I would suggest not only for weight but also from that yanking motion in and out of the bracket. And then here they are filled with the flowers. So you also have the 3 different containers. The first one is that rectangular Walmart pitcher, and then the Dollar Tree pitcher, and then the 2 Dollar Tree water bottles on the end. Now you may be saying, okay, I don't have a Dollar Tree's worth of flowers to store. So another option for a much smaller collection would be these acrylic vases from the Dollar Tree. And you can attach these either by these removable adhesive strips. Now what I like to use is this Gorilla mounting tape. I love this stuff. I will link it as well in the description box below. And I'm going to just put a strip of that to one of the flat sides of the acrylic vase, cut it off there, and then it has another strip there on top. I'll remove that when I'm ready to stick it. And so I'm going to place 4 here on the side of my little cubby shelves, and they're going to house my greens. For my wreath forms, I'm going to be using a great hack that Megan from Glue Guns and Roses first showed in one of her awesome organization videos, which I'll link below, that uses Dollar Tree paper towel holders. To attach to the wall, I'll use 1 anchor screw to the top and 2 support hooks underneath. And I will be using 2 of those, as I often have quite a few wreath forms in stock. Next, we'll be moving on to ribbons, which of course is related to the floral category, but it's also used in several other areas of crafting. And since it tends to create its own craft area conundrums, I'm going to be giving it its own section. Okay, so starting out, those little food storage containers, the larger one, does create a great option for storage of your craft ribbons, especially if you don't have a lot and if you do have various sizes. But if you're like me, you do have a lot, and I also like to have them kind of on display so I know what I have when I need it. So I like to use these Dollar Tree spice shelf organizers. So as you'll see, these are just some regular spools from Michaels, and they just fit so nicely right in the little slots of the rack. Now the slots are different sizes on the different shelves. So that top shelf is the smallest slot, and so those I like to reserve for the smallest rolls. Now the bigger rolls will fit there as well, it's just vice versa, the smaller ones will slide right through. So just reserve that top shelf for the smaller rolls if you have any. Also, slightly wider ribbons like this one from the Dollar Tree will also fit in the slot. You just kind of have to press in the edges there. Now I'll show you here what I mean. So I'm kind of just pressing the edges in as I'm placing it into the rack. And so you'll see that they'll work just fine in the slots if you do that. Now for the wider ribbon, you could take some wire cutters and just remove a couple of the spokes, but I find they sit just fine as is. The only ones that don't work well for this solution are these maybe about 3-inch wide spools, and of course the really large ones. But for these ones here, we have another solution. I took one of these Dollar Tree organizing bins. Now these come 3 to a pack, and then also these 3 to a pack hangers. Then I just took some wire cutters and I snipped the long end there off of each of the hangers, and then I'm going to just thread it there through the slots at the top, at the middle, and at the bottom. Then I can just take the basket itself and hang that on the wall, and then on the spokes coming out will fit my larger ribbons. Speaking of hanging things on the wall, I wanted to show you this multi-purpose bracket I'll be using, made with Dollar Tree dish racks and some thick rubber bands. From time to time, Dollar Tree does sell these, but you can get on a more regular basis at Walmart for $1.22 a bag. So all I do is I take the rubber bands and I apply about 6 or 7 to each rung, resulting in something that looks like this. To make a bracket that accommodates larger pieces and bins, I simply remove the 2nd and 4th rung from the dish rack with wire cutters. And now getting back to ribbons. You can see how if I use this Dollar Tree acrylic organizer in combination with my rubber band bracket, I can make a great little wall-mounted storage and display for my ribbons. Also in the ribbon category, I'll be including some nautical rope and cord that I'll be storing in that larger or taller food storage container. And then in that shorter one, I'll have burlap, jute, twine, and some raffia. I'm also going to have some out and handy, and so I just put them in these little white bins from the Dollar Tree that do come 3 for $1, and then I'll just put my burlap and my raffia and then that jute there on top. And now moving right along to our next category, paper crafting. And number 1 in that category is of course going to be cardstock and scrapbook paper. And one of my favorite ways to organize is with this Dollar Tree dish rack, and then it fits nicely in the cubby with the cardstock in the rack and the books up along the side. And then as you scan down the cubbies, you can see that I use that dish rack to organize just about everything else. So trays, signs, pans, racks, frames, straws, plates, acrylics, just about maybe 40 or 50% of my stash gets organized with those Dollar Tree dish racks. But again, back to paper crafting, and I just wanted to show you this little organizer that I made in a previous video, which I will link here and in the description. It's made from recycled materials, and it is what I house all of my loose pieces of scrapbook paper. But here's another option made with Dollar Tree products, including this pocket chart scheduler and these button files. They come 3 to a pack. Now what I want to do with these is take that top flap and just kind of fold it inwards. Next, I want to count down 3 of those little plastic pockets. I'm going to add some E6000 around the back of that envelope and then just place it inside that pocket. Now I'm going to count down 2 more of those little pockets, again with some E6000 to the back of the next envelope, and tuck it in there and do the same with the third. Now I could use those 2 holes at the top to attach it to the wall, or I could use one of these Dollar Tree over the door hangers. Now I am going to need some zip ties to elongate the space so I can hook it on. And you can see here where I just kind of added a couple of zip ties to the top, and then it's ready to hang and store my scrapbook paper sheets. More paper that needs corralling are these rolls of paper, whether they be cellophane or contact paper or wrapping paper. And a great way to do that is to use these Dollar Tree letter files that you can attach open side to the wall. If using the removable hooks, you need to use quite a few, as these rolls tend to be on the heavier side. Now if you do use the hooks, you are going to want to attach them with a little E6000 glue to that top side, and then just place the hook in place there, and then once that glue is dry, you can proceed to attach it to the wall. Now I'm actually going to be using some anchors and screws, and you can see there at the very top of the letter holder there is a little hole there, and so that's where I will be screwing through to attach the letter holder to the wall. Then I'll also support it at the bottom with some of the hooks, but then on each side I will be using the anchor and screw to secure it to the wall. And then here you can see it hanging on the wall with the paper inside, and you can see where I have one screw there to the top, and then you can't really see them too well because they are painted black, but the 2 hooks there at the bottom securing the bottom. And now moving on to washi tape. One great solution for washi tape would be to use some Dollar Tree ice cube trays, and you'll see where the little washi tapes fit right inside the ice cubes just perfectly. And then you could also stack them. You can get 2 stacks of ice cube trays, and they will fit perfectly into these Dollar Tree A-lid type storage containers. And then they can just be put on a shelf and stored away. And you can also see inside the container, which makes it great to see what you have. But if you use washi tape a lot and you'd rather have it kind of on display and close at hand, you can use one of those dish rack rubber band brackets, and you can see how those ice cube trays work perfectly. Another option would be to use that organizer bin and hanger combo, and then of course the washi tape can just roll right on. Now with this you could also add some more hangers, as you will have more space with the washi tape. As for paper punches, they also fit great into those A-lid storage containers from the Dollar Tree. But again, if you prefer to have them on display and close at hand, those dish rack rubber band brackets with the larger spaces in between work great. As for items like stickers and stencils, I'm going to go ahead and go back to those food storage containers. I find that that taller food storage container works perfectly when I place the stickers on the side, and I can just page right through to see what I have. Now for the longer stickers, I put those in the shorter food storage container, and again, those work great. And then I did the same thing with my stencils. Again, just that shorter one is the perfect size. And then for the little gems and other embellishments, I found that this size storage container works perfectly. It's just wide and deep enough to hold everything in place and store away nicely. For my glitter, it's back again to that taller food storage container, and you can see how it does fit quite a bit. To organize my larger letter and number stickers, as well as these vinyl wall appliques, I used a Dollar Tree cooling rack along with some Dollar Tree hair bands. I just placed the hair bands around the rack, and then I just slid the stickers right up underneath. From here, I can just hang it right on the wall. Lastly, I also often have some little loose embellishments and little pieces of different things like dice or different little screws or buttons or different types of little metal pieces. And so those work great in these little craft containers from the Dollar Tree. And I can just place those all in. These also work great for jewelry and other small crafts. And then again, I can use my dish rack and rubber band bracket to hang them on the wall. Before going on, I just wanted to show you one last bracket that I will be using in my wall display. So I'm going to just take one of these Dollar Tree racks, and again, these large rubber bands, and then I'm going to just place 6 or 7 of the rubber bands there between the 2 legs of both top and bottom, and then I can just attach that back to the wall, and that will create a 2-tier shelf that I can place my storage bins on. And now here you can see that paper crafting wall come all together. At the top, there's the storage racks with the larger stickers. In the middle is the 2-tier bracket holding the storage containers. To either side of that are the dish rack and rubber band brackets, one holding the paper punches and the other of the small craft boxes. And then down below are the file holders holding the paper rolls. To hang the racks, I used some Dollar Tree picture hangers, and then I did attach all the brackets with the closet-made clips, especially those paper punches. They're extremely heavy, so those definitely need it. And then these others, just to be safe in the event that I did hang something heavy in these brackets as well. And then here's another look at the cubby wall. And notice how I went back and did put labels on all of my storage boxes. As for that last empty cubby, that will be filled in video 2, as well as the rest of the craft area. So please check back for that, as well as like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.